Yeah, hello all. Good morning and good evening. So, last class we have discussed about the first tab. So, how to create Angular application using the Angular CLI. So, we discussed this part, and in this we create our own component called grid components, and we also displayed some little bit of some HTML content on the page. One second. Yeah. So we had displayed. Uh, we have configured the navbar with the bootstrap and we have displayed that bootstrap and all fine. Today what is my plan is I'm going to tell you how to create a complete application using a bootstrap. Okay, so we'll do this one complete application over here. So what I do is I just create a new application. So here ng new something HCL underscore corporation, enter. Yes. Oh, sorry. Uh, Actually, your application name should not contain underscores. So, actually, one second. I have already discussed Bootstrap and all, right? Bootstrap, how to configure and all, we have already finished, right? So, why again Bootstrap? Um, okay. Today we'll discuss something new. Okay. Today we'll discuss how to perform data binding with Angular. How to perform data binding with Angular. So data binding means so how a component and the HTML template is gonna have a connection. Okay, so how many ways you can do the data binding process. Here you can have the four ways you can do data binding. So first thing is interpolation, the Angular interpolation using this Angular expression, and the second one is um, property binding using this symbol, and next we have events binding, that is this one, and fourth one template reference, template reference variables. Okay, so template reference variables using the hash some id. Okay, so four ways we can bind the elements together in Angular. So I'll show you this part now. So I'll just create that thing here. So what I do is I just say ng new events minus Angular. So I'll just create a new application for data binding and events handling where I will discuss today. So press enter. It asks for routing system, yes. It asks for styles, CSS, yes. So it will take some time to create and install all the packages like node modules and all this. So it will take a few minutes. Hmm. So I'll just pause the video because it'll take too much time to uh, create all this. So once it is done, I'll just resume the video. Okay, I'm just pause it. Yeah, hi. It's finished now successfully, and yeah. So first the configuration here is I will connect to Bootstrap first, and then we'll start doing our data binding concepts and event handling concepts. So first, let me connect to the Bootstrap. So as we discussed yesterday, you can you can copy the Bootstrap in the src folder and then connect. Or else, one more way I tell you, copy the Bootstrap folder. You can keep in a main application folder also. You can keep it in the main app folder. So I have just copied the Bootstrap folder. I kept in the main app folder. See, in the events angler, I kept in the Bootstrap folder. And you have to give the all files connection in angular.json. This is Angular configuration file. Here you have to give the paths. You have to give the styles over here and scripts over here. So we have done this in a previous application. Let me open that angular.json. Yes. So we did this. Let me just copy as this and back to angular.json. I'll just replace the styles and scripts. Okay. But here previously it was in src folder. So we give an src slash. Now it is not in the src folder. It is in the main folder. So then simply just remove this src not required, and I make one more. I think it's a style, yeah, style.css. Sorry. Okay. And then let me delete all this. Okay, looks good. So this is how you can configure the Bootstrap specific files, like CSS files and JS files. Now let me start the Angular server. So how to start the server is go to the application location, cd space events, Angular, and here just say ng serve. So when you hit the command call ngserve, is going to start the Angular application. And even when you do ngserve, so where exactly this command available? So these commands are available in the package.json. So package.json is actually the application's configuration file. So when I open that package.json, see in a package.json we have a scripts. In that we have a script called ngserve. Either you do ngserve or else we have a start script. It's called npm start. You can do npm start. It will execute ngserve, or else you can do ngserve to to start the application. There is one ng build. This is to perform a production build. If you want to deploy your application to online, you can do this ng build. It will create a folder structure uh, without having a node modules and all. And ng test, this is for unit testing purpose. Ng lint, this is to test any uh, any issues are there with javascript thing. And this is end-to-end test. So these many commands available, and we just see now ng serve to start the application. Yes, it is done. The compilation is finished. And now application, this Angular live server, development live server is listening to port number 4200. So once you hit the command ngserve, it starts the application at the 4200 port number. You have to open your browser, enter this URL to see the output. So let me go to the browser 127. You can give either local host or 127.0.0.1. I'll say 4200 is the port number default for Angular. Enter. Yes. So I got a basic setup of a Angular. And we already discussed that where does this file is coming from. So this content is coming from, I just repeat one more time. So whenever you hit this URL, it look for the index.html. So I just show you there is one in the SRC. There is one index.html. Okay, in the index.html we have a in the body tag app root. So this is a custom tag. Every component will have a custom tag. Okay, so this custom tag is configured somewhere in the application. So whenever this app root is there, so first of all it look for one application file called main.ts. So this main.ts is going to load it, and in this main.ts see, there is a line number 11 here, bootstrap module app module. So what happened, the app module is going to be the initialized or kickstart. So app module is the root module for your application. So app module is going to be the kickstart. So when I go to app module, see it is in the app folder. When I just click on, press the control and click on this, it goes to app module, but no configuration there in the app module. But we have another configuration is called bootstrap app component. So it is going to bootstrapping uh, or kickstarting or initializing the app components. So when I go to app components, this is the app components TS file. So in that, see selector app root. So this is nothing but your custom tag. So the same tag which we have configured over here is this this one. And how does this data is coming is, for every custom tag we have a HTML and CSS. They have not written anything in a CSS file. It's empty. Everything which is there here, which is coming from the HTML. So we have write CSS also in the HTML. See, they write a style attribute and style tag, and they write something here. So thing is, this whole thing is coming from the root component of the application. App component is coming from. Okay, fine. And we don't need this. We want to make our own setup. So I'll just delete everything. So it's deleted. Okay, just for understanding purpose, what are we doing today is I'll just make a nav bar to understand what is the concept we are discussing today. So I'll just make a basic nav bar of bootstrap. So I'll just give a class called nav bar dark and bg dark and enough. Let's say anchor tag href is hash. I'll give something called events in Angular. Yeah, I got it, but colors, yeah, one more class is required. This is navbar brand. Okay, okay, fine. So why I made this navbar is just to indicate what is the concept we are discussing, and afterwards we'll see the our actual concepts. Okay, so now here um, we are going to discuss today all data binding things in Angular. Okay, so to perform this data binding, I don't want to use the app component. I create a new components to understand the data binding concepts. So I create a new component. So how to create a new component is, we have the CLI in Angular CLI. That's a ng g c, g for generate and c for component, and you have to give the component name. So what is my component name is something called data binding. Data binding is my component name. So before I go into create a component name, so what I do is, in the app folder, I create a new folder, new directory called components. inside I'll create that data binding components. So now inside components I have to create. So I just right click on this components, open in terminal. So it opened that exactly path over here. So then you have to enter this command ng-gc data binding. Let me copy this. So paste it, enter. Okay, so it creates one HTML, one spec.ts, that is the testing file, unit testing file, and one TS file for the class support for controller. And this is the style sheet CSS, and also configured in the app module.ts. So this whole thing is done by this command. Fine. And we got a new component called data binding component, and we have all the files. Now, the very first thing what I do is, if you go to the TS file, here we have a selector. What is the selector is app data binding. This is your custom tag for this component. So this component I want to configure with my uh, root components. So what I do is I go to my root app component. Below the navbar, I will write data binding component, data binding components. Yeah, what the tag is app minus data binding. So it detects automatically as soon as you creates. Fine. So if I configured my custom components, okay, my new component in the root components, so this start displaying after the navbar. Let's check. See, after navbar, you get some message. Data binding works. So where this message is coming from is when I go to this app dot I mean this TS file in this one HTML. So this whole thing is represent one HTML. If you go to that HTML, see you have a paragraph tag. Data binding is working. If I change this to H1 and save it, you have a bigger text. So this place is working fine. So now we have done what? We have configured the bootstrap and we have started the application, and we have configured our new component to the main app components. That's fine. So now it's time to understand the data binding concepts over here. The very first thing in the data binding concept is interpolation. What is this interpolation is? Interpolation is a concept to bind the the TS file specific data. This is called actually model. So this TS file specific data on your HTML page using Angular expression. This expression. So there's a special way to display this data over here. I will tell you one thing now. What is that? Is see how the interpolation works is I create one variable here. I mean one property. So what is that property is let's say message colon string, because it's a class. Message string is equal to I just say good morning. Okay, what's the problem? Mm, Message of string is equal to good morning. It's correct only, no? Any problem here? No error. Yeah. Mm, Type sim on column property. Is it capital? No. String lowercase. One second. Actually, in the class you can declare, right? The TS file. Um, Message of type string good morning. Correct only. What's the problem? No error actually. Something my web stream is having some problems. It's correct only. Okay, fine. Just remember, in my class, I have a variable called message with the value called good morning. So this particular data I want to display on a HTML. So how to bind this application data on a HTML is, see, I'll write, I'll just say hello. So hello is a static data. Hello is a static data. And along with this, I want to display the good morning message. So I use the Angular expression, double curly braces. Let's say the message. So what happened? So hello, good morning is going to display. Okay, this is one way. So in application, you have some content, and that content, if you're gonna display over here, you can display that. And even not only just to display the data, you can modify also. How you modify is you can call any JavaScript function to manipulate this. Suppose I want to do uppercase, you can do message dot to uppercase. So what happened? It will convert to the uppercase. Or you can do any substring. Let's say substring of 0 comma 4. So only the 4 characters like this, and dot to uppercase. You get a uppercase GOOD like this. So you can just manipulate the data. Not only just display the data, you can manipulate data also using interpolation. Okay, and this is actually called as the Angular expression. The way of displaying using this is called interpolation, but this expression is called Angular expression. So here you can write any type of expression like h1 tag. Let's say hello. Okay, let's say anything like this. Let's say 10 plus 20. You get the answer is 30. That's the expression. Okay. You can even write some any expression like let's say some string. Let's say hello plus good morning. So two strings are concatenated together. So you get the message hello good morning like that. So this is used as a expression. So you can just get the value from the TS file and add it, and also you can manipulate that as per the expression here. Fine. And one small limitation is there with this thing. What is that is, suppose if I say h1, I want to display the data. So date, how to display? I say new data. See, if I say new date, you got a error. So new date. See what is error? So parser error, unexpected token date at the column 6, new date, something. Yeah. So what is the error over here is using Angular expression, you can access only the regular JavaScript functions like the basic string dot uppercase and those things only, but you never access the global variable like the date object, the math objects, okay, the set interval, the global function. So the global JavaScript things you cannot access from here because it is a HTML. You cannot access those global things over here. So how to do, sir? How to display the date and all in uh, using this expression is you have to create a function in the TS file and start using those function over here. So what I mean to say is when I go to the TS file, here I create a method because it's a class, so I call it as method. So what is that is, let's say public um, get date, get the date. Yeah, it just type is void. No, I'll just say return string. So I written here new date, new date dot to locale date string. Okay, I just taken a date string. Fine. Why again the same problem? String. Here also string is a problem. Expected one space after the colon. Oh, then one more space. Huh? Great. Is expecting one space after the colon for lint. Oh, here no space. Huh? What is it actually? Expected one space after colon the property declaration. Okay, one space. Then type string trivially inferred from a string literal. Remove the annotation. No intro. Oh, unnecessarily is doing lot of yes lint and all. Is going for the strict rules of TypeScript. I don't need to do this. Mm, to fix no something is there. One second. I have to remove this. Is asking for okay no happy. Oh, so he's looking for actually strict rules about TypeScript. This TS lint we had to disable. I'll find out how to disable that in a web storm. Yeah, fine. Actually, we have done is correct only, but it is looking for a strict rules about primitive types and object types. Fine. Yeah, where you are. So public get date function. I mean, this is a method. It returns a string. So return new date of two local date string. So here you can access in the TS file. You can access the date and all global variables, but you cannot access over the HTML. Okay. So here when you call this method, you're gonna get the date. So what I do over here is get data. You can call it like this. So when I call, you can access the not refresh. Yeah, you can access the current data. It's a what you call month, date, and year. Okay, fine. This is how you can access all this. Fine. This is about interpolation concept. You want to display any application specific data in an Angular expression, you can use interpolation. And next, one more concept is there property binding. What is this property binding is? This is to update any HTML property or any HTML attributes using using the TS specific data. It means suppose I have an image tag. Okay, src is equal to some image. So here image tag src equal to some image, and this image address is gonna get from TS. Actually, why data is coming from the TS file is um, generally this TS file acts as a controller for your HTML. Generally, in a client side, we use that. No, we use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML is for structure, and CSS for styles, and JavaScript is for dynamic nature. So actually, the data which is coming from, coming to the HTML page is from the JavaScript file. But here we don't have JavaScript file; we have a TS file. So the complete controlling of the HTML, the entire the component logic is going to be the TS file only. And even this TS file is responsible to connect to the services, and those are connected to the database and the backend servers, and will fetch the data and give you back to this component, and this will use to display data over here. So as of now, we are not connected to the server and all. So that's why I'm just using a static data. How to bind? If you know this concept, and then we'll slowly move on to the next concept like servers and how to get data from database and display services and all. We'll see. So as of now, this is the only data provider for your HTML. So now we discuss only the string now. Next, so I didn't want to just display over here like this. I need to add a dynamic data for any attributes. I want to update the attribute dynamically. So how you do that is using a property binding. I show you the what is property binding. So assume in the here I'll just take mm, let's say source image source of type string. Again shows the image source of type string is equal to um, what I do is one string. Okay, here I have to give them image source. So what I do is I just go to Google. I just fetch one image. Um, Go to Google. Yeah, search for something called person image. Yep. So I got one person image. Yeah. So this person image I want to display on my HTML. So I'll just right click, copy image address. Suppose I paste here. Assume this data is coming from the backend. This address. So this image address I'm going to display on here in a HTML like a property. So now let's understand a property binding. So here I'll just take an image, but instead of image, I'll go with better. I'll go with the bootstrap setup. One container, one row, one single call MD 4, and one card body. So inside, I'll take an image src. Okay, let's keep it alt nothing, and let's give a class called image fluid and image in a thumbnail. Okay, so image tag is created and card is created. Let me check what is happening here. Yes, I got a card. So now here I'll just give some space in the bottom because it's very bottom. 1 meter. I'll give some space in the bottom. I'll say margin bottom some 500 pixels. Okay, some space you're gonna get. Yeah, like this. Fine. So we have image displayed, but there is no source for the image. This source I want to attach to the this source, image source. So what I do is, instead of doing, either you can do like this, like a string interpolation concept and image source you're gonna write, but this is not actual way of doing it for the properties. See it display, but it's not actually way. One more way also there to represent. I mean, inside of attributes, it is like you can keep in curly. I mean, the square brackets src is equal to directly image source. So this is called property binding. So you're gonna bind the component, the component class specific data to the HTML attributes using this square brackets. So this is called a property binding. It means from the TS file to the HTML. So from back, like from the model to the view, you are configuring this data is called a property binding. This is one way. And next, one more way is there, not from the model to the HTML, reverse. Reverse means from the HTML to the model. So how to do that process is, that's a concept called event binding. So event binding means, so see, today, what happened in the TS file, I have a backend something. So that's what update over here. Suppose I have change in the backend. I'll change that image URL to, see, I'm changing the image URL to, in the model, I'm changing something. So when I change in the model, automatically it detects a new image. So whenever any change happens in the model, it automatically detects here. So it is from model to the view. Now the story is from the view to the model. It means if you do something in the view, I want to update something in a model. Okay, that's a reverse way. So how this possible? When you do something here is only is possible with events. So when I click on a button, when I hover something, when I drag something or copy, so they're all events. So when an event happens, then I want to do something at the, at the model side, then you can go for event binding from the template to the, the view to the model, the TS file. So let's start. So how to perform a events, like DOM events in Angular. That's the events binding. So let's do one small example. So here I create one button for events binding. Okay, events binding. So what I do is I'll just take one button. Okay, button with a class called btn minus primary. Okay, so for this button, let's add something called click me one button. Let's check. I got I got a button. Okay, so this particular button, um, what I do is when I click on this button, I want to do something. You can keep it in one container, your wish. One container, one row, one column. Yeah, in that one button, because I have to give some space at the left side. Yeah, button. So my plan is when I click on the button, do something. Okay, so how is possible when I click on a button is you can write an event, click event. So how to configure the click event here is generally in HTML we're gonna write on click. From JavaScript we write get element by ID and or get element by query selector and you add event listener called click. But here it is different. So what is that is click events. So let's say click. It is like this. Click. So when the click happens, I'll just make some alerts. I think alerts are not possible because it's a JavaScript thing. Okay. So click. So when the click happens, I have to call a method. So I'll just create a method over here. What is that is? I'll just say public. Mm, let's say get message. Get message. Okay. I'll just take it as a string. Let's say return. But no return. Why you return? I don't want to do anything over here. Okay, I'll just do a void as of now. I'll make an alert. You clicked a button. Okay, fine. What's the problem? Space. God. Okay. So we have a method is having alerts. You clicked a button. So now check, and we have to call that method. Let's say get message. So story is whenever you click on the button, it triggers the click events and then it calls a get message method and that is showing the alerts and you click the button. Now check when I click on a button, see you got alerts, you clicked a button. So this how you connect the events to the uh, HTML. But what I want is I don't need the normal alert message here. What I do is I create one variable here and whenever you click on a button I'm going to update that variable and using this string interpolation concept I want to display the data also here. So the plan is I will create a variable here. Variable is um, let's say something called wish message um, of type string is equal to wish message of type string is equal to what we do is let's take a null value. Again, what's the problem? Yeah. So wish message of type null value I'll take in. So what I do is I want to see the wish message on my HTML. So above the button I'll take one h2 in this wish message. So if I display wish message, it was already null. So nothing is going to display over here. See, nothing has been displayed. So when I click on a button, I want to update that data and automatically it will display over here. Okay, so what I do is when I click on a button, it's called a method. In this method, what I'm doing is I want to update this wish message data. So what I do, how to access this class specific data over here is this dot wish message. Okay, is equal to you clicked a button. Fine. Okay, so this dot wish message equal to you clicked a button. And see, the process is whenever you click on this button, it's called a message. So that is updating the wish message, and the same wish message I'm using over here using interpolation. It means when you click on a button, it displays some message over here. Let's say when I click on a button, see, you got a message, you clicked a button because you have updated this variable that is already connected to the HTML. So it will update as soon as it is updated in the model, it also display over here. So this concept is from view to the model, and there I have updated something, and that display back to the page is this one expression. So two way we have did that. Let's say as soon as I click on from the model, I mean from the view I'm clicking on, it send back to the model and display back to the HTML. And next I want to do something else. When I click on how many times I click on a button, those many times I want to increment the number. So the best thing is, let's take one more variable like count or something. Counter of type number is equal to, I'll just take 0. Then what's the problem? It's a number. Oh, it's a number of 0. Okay, yeah, it's a number, and I want to do increment. So this dot count plus plus. I want to increment, and this count I want to display on my HTML. So what I do is, yeah, here I'll just display using interpolation angle expression count. Okay, so now check. It was refresh. It was 0 when I click on a button. See, you clicked a button 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many times you click on, those many times is keep increasing that. So this is events binding. So when you want to bind from the template to the model, template means your HTML and model is nothing but your TS file. So from the template to the model, you want to bind something. That's a events binding. And one more way is there. I mean, this is we use sometimes, not regularly. This called template reference variables. What is this template reference variables is, if you want to get access to the, see till now what will happen, we can have access to the model specific data to the HTML and HTML data back to the model. But now sometimes what happen, I want to access only the template specific data in the templates. Here, see, I can access the class specific data in the class. It's possible using this keyword you can do it. But how to access the template specific data? I want to access this image address over here. I want to access this content over here. So how to give a reference to the in the template itself? Okay, the HTML template itself is called template reference variables. You can create a variable for them, and you can refer them for the in the template itself, and you can pass them to the model also. So that's reference is template reference. Let's see one example of template reference variable. So I create uh, template so template reference variable. So here what I do is, uh, let's take one container, one row, one column. Let's take column D4, one card body. Yep. So container card body. Yeah. Inside I'll take a form. I think up to here is okay. Yeah, I have a card one. Okay. Inside I'll take a form. Yeah, I'll take a form. So in that I'll take a division with the class called, sorry, the class called form group. Inside I'll take input with the type is equal to text, and give the class called perform control, and let's make some placeholder username. Let me give the name attribute as username. Okay, I have it one small text box, and the plan is I create a button, a normal button with the class btn minus warning, and let's say type is just a button. Okay, I just say get user. That's a button name. Okay, where's the button? Yep. So here, see, I have a text box and I have a button, and the button text is get user. So now plan is whenever I click on this particular button, then you can call a function. You can do that, right? So I'll just create a function now. I say public get user data. I'll just take a function something. Just take a void. Okay, this is the function I'm gonna call. Yeah, I have a function get user data. I have to call this function when you click on the button. So what I do, I'll just say clicker is equal to get user data. So when I click on a button, I call a function get user data. So get user data is gonna call. Okay, fine. Now my plan is, yes, you have done the event binding, fine. But what I want to do is, I want to pass this value over here. I want to pass this because what is my plan is in this function, I want to access the value of this text box. In this in this method, I want to access the value of this text box. So how to access means you have to pass it. How to pass? So I have text box, right? How can we pass this text box over here is using template reference variable. You want to access any HTML tags over here, you can use template reference variable. So what is that concept is, you can give some hash user. So this is like a indicates an ID for this input, and this user you can substitute as a parameter. So why you got error here is you are not catch it. Yeah, I'll take input of type. It is of type HTML input element because we are sending from there as input elements. What is that? ESLint colon. Uh, okay. Okay. So whenever you click on this button, this particular input field I am sending to the function. So I refer this HTML element using hash user. So that I have sent over here. So inside you can use it. I'll just make an alert of input. I want to access the value. I'll just say dot value. Let's see input dot value means the text box value is going to come in a alert. Now check when I type something, my name, and when I click on get user, see I got a username. I mean this particular value over here. So this called template reference variable. If you want to refer any HTML template specific elements, you can use this hash. I mean this called template reference variable, and this variable you can use it where you wanted to do it. I want to send to the function, so I just use that to send a function, and that will display. And one more thing we'll do is don't display in the alerts. I won't display over here. You want display here, you need to have a variable and do the interpolation to display back here. So I'll do one more variable. Let's username, but this username and that name match. No, username of string is equal to. I'll just take it as a null. It's just empty now. So now plan is this dot username. I'm updating with input dot value. So whenever I'm already getting this input element, it's a value I'm assigning back to the username. and this username I'm going to display on my HTML after the button. So that is, let's take a interpolation or else some tag you use like h2 interpolation. Let's take username. Yeah, fine. Now check. So it will not display because it was null, declared as null. Its name is declared as null. Yeah, whenever I type it, when I click on get user, see, I got this value has updated over here, because in the function we are updating the method, we are updating this value to the username, and same username I'm display here. So automatically is what display is updated means display over here. So these are the ways you can bind data. I repeat, first interpolation. Interpolation means in the component any variable is there that you want to display on a HTML template. Using Angular expression you can use it, but here in Angular expression you can write any type of expression. Only one limitation is you can't access the global data, global objects of JavaScript, so that you have to create any function or method, and there you can access that and call that method over here. That's one thing. And property binding means if you want to bind the model, the backend model specific data to the template for any HTML attributes dynamically, that's place we use property binding. So from model to the view. And what is event binding is, it is from view to the model, it's a reverse. So view to model is events. So whenever an event happens in a on the view or templates, so you can use this type of syntax I given the brackets, right? Yeah, so they can call a method and you can do perform what type of logic you want. And one more is called template reference variable. If you want to refer any of HTML element in the template itself, you can go with the template reference variable like hash some name, and this you can use. And one more thing is, once you given a hash user, you must not give a same hash user for any other variable, because it's like an ID. You must not give the same ID for any other. Suppose I'll give for any element, suppose hash user I given out there na? If I say hash again user, not showing any English. Oh, I don't know. Uh, Actually, it must not given same ID, otherwise you'll get confused over here. So this is called template reference variable. You want to refer the HTML templates. So this how you can perform data binding operations. Now let's do some examples about events. Okay,
Sir,
so when
one question. This hash user is just ID, right? It's not the HTML control we are passing.
no, it is just ID.
But on the can we go on this get user data on the TS
Hmm.
TS5? But this get user data is input type is HTML input element, right?
Sorry. Actually, it is hash user mean the whole element. This is element is there, na? This whole element is gonna send over here. So it means you can access its class, its type, it's a placeholder, its name, everything you can access.
So that means it's not ID, it's whole is a
Yeah, yes,
HTML, right?
correct. It's a whole HTML element.
Okay, that it confused me, but I'm clear because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
write
yeah,
HTML control and there was ID.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
okay,
it's
got it.
it's a whole element. Yeah. So now the plan is we'll do some events binding, like how to perform JavaScript events over here. So I'll just disconnect this component.html. I mean, in app component, I don't need this because this we already discussed this. I'll just comment out this. If I comment out, nothing is going to display because all the content is coming from, yes, nothing display because all this content is coming from this data binding. So I just comment out it, and I'll display some other examples over here. So how to display some data. Let's take an example of, we'll do some examples. What is that example is? Uh, so first example I want to tell you is one, just a username change. What is username changes? Whenever I'm typing in a text box, I want to get the data. That's called two-way data binding. So I tell you two-way data binding how it happens. So here, and second one, change password. So how the password is getting changed, like when you check the checkbox, I want to update the password and those things. Okay, so using these concepts only will do. And also we'll see one example, this bit complex example, that is um, stopwatch. The stopwatch example, we have a multiple buttons and to perform a set interval and all. So stopwatch example we'll see. So here you clearly understand how the events is going to happen in Angular. So first we'll start with the very basic one, username change. So to username change, I need to have a separate components. So I'll go back to the terminal. Here I'll create a new components. So nggc uh, change minus username, enter. Yep. So I got HTML spec TS and CSS file. Fine. And one second, I'll restart my this one. It is looking for linter. Is looking for strict rules. Actually, that's not required. Let me restart one more time. I think restart will not solve the problem. You have to configure something in a WebStorm only. I think I'll go to some settings because it is going for the strict rules. Like I show you here. See, the string and all, capital number and all not required. It's all even looking for the space also. If you don't give the space, it's showing error kind of. Okay, so I want to fix this. I want to disable the TS lint or something. And see, I given space is not detect. Yeah, I'll go to settings somewhere in plugins, editor, code style. I think lint is there. Do one thing. I'll go to Google and search uh, disable ESLint in WebStorm. Settings editor, uh, inspection you want to disable, create the checkbox and now apply the changes. Oh, settings editor inspections. Okay, while settings editor inspections, in that which one? Inspection, look at the inspection that you want to disable. I want to disable the TS Angular. It's not actually from Angular. It is some TypeScript, JavaScript, TypeScript. Yeah, in TypeScript. Oh, there's many are there. Yeah, TS lint. See, TS lint is enabled. I'll just uncheck this TS lint and then apply and then okay. So now it's gone. Wow, super. So if I give, don't give space also, it's happy. Okay, fine. So I tell you how to disable this TS lint if you get some strict rules to do this. It's not actually error, but it's just giving some suggestion to make a perfect programming. But it doesn't matter now. Now that level of thing is not required. So you want to modify, just go to File Settings, Editor, Inspections. You can select which it is. It's a TypeScript language. So when I select TypeScript, you can find something TS lint. It was enabled for me. I don't know. So I just disable this checkbox and click on OK, and it's done. Fine. Now happy it is. Yeah, so the plan is now change username. I think I already created. Go to terminal. Yeah, it's where is my component? Oh, let's check once. Component. Yeah, change username is created. So let's configure the change username in my app components. So go to app component.html. Let's say add a comment. Change username. I'll say app. Change username. I'll close it. Yeah. So let's check. I got change username works. So it's configured. Now plan is in change username, I'll create uh, a card or something. Let's say one container, one row, one column D. Let's take 1 6 half of. In the column D6, I'll take. Shall I do one thing? Let's take a full card and display, right? That's better. Okay, I'll take one single column in that one card body. Yep, I have a card body. Let's make some margin top 5, and then in this I'll take one row in that one call MD6 half of, and another call MD6. So inside I'll take a form. Yeah, in the form I'll take one division with the class called form group, and inside you have input type is equal to text, and give the class called form control, and let's make a placeholder as a username. Yep. So I have a username. So my plan is whenever I'm typing something in a username, I want to display that data over here. That's the plan. So in the next column D6, I want to display some H3. So my name. Okay. So this is what I want to display. As of now, it should be empty. So now thing is, whatever I am typing over here, I want to display that data here. Generally in JavaScript, how you do is you just create an ID and you just add an event called key up events. And when the key up event happens, then get the data and add to the uh, backend JavaScript. And also you take care about displaying back to here. So we only responsible to take care about both the things from the template to the JavaScript and JavaScript back to the template. We have to take care, get the data and set the data. But here in Angular, to perform this type of two-way data binding, we have one directive. What is the directive is ng model. So this ng model directive is to perform two-way data binding. See, previously we discussed one way. What is from HTML template to the model, and this is model to the template. So you can do either both the things manually, or else we have a shortcut using ng model directive. But one more thing is this ng model directive is not available for you by default. You need to add one separate class that's it comes from the forms module. It's not available from the root module app module. It is come from forms module. So you have to configure the forms module to start using the ng model. Okay, so I'll do one thing. I go to the main app module.ts. Here let me import a new module. Import, I'll use forms module. Yeah, the forms module is coming from Angular/forms. So this I have to configure, where I have to configure in the import statements, comma, paste forms module. So once you have configured the forms module, then only you can start using of ng model, and this is responsible for two-way data binding between your HTML and the components. Yeah, I have loaded the forms module, and I have imported as well here in the main root app module. Then let me close all unnecessary things. Let's close all of this. Yep. So I go to HTML. Here I want to connect these HTML input element to the backend. So I have a TS file here. So here I create one variable, just say username of type stringer is equal to null. Okay. So username of type string is equal to null. And this username I want to connect to this HTML. So how to do that is it's very easy. You can create in the brackets, I tell you, ng model like this is equal to username. So what is this notation? Again, we have seen this one and we have seen this one. What exactly this one is a combination of both. So property binding means it is from component to the template. This is from template back to component. So two-way. It means this is representation of two-way data binding. So this is property binding and this is event binding. And inside you have ng model. This is represent the two-way data binding. It means it will bind the username variable to here. If you update something over here, it automatically updates the model. And if anything change over in the model, it also updates over here. I show you both the ways now. So username, as of now, its value is null. I want to see the data also. So here I'll use the username. Okay. So now username data is null. So nothing has been displayed. I'll do from the backend and then I'll show you from the front end. So from the model, I will update this data to my name. From the model, I'll update this data to my name. So when I update my data, automatically see that is updated over here. So when I change something else like John, John Dewey, something, when I update from the model, it automatically updates over here. Now what is my plan is, I don't want to update from the backend and all. I want to update from the front end to update this data. So I'll just keep it as null, empty. Now I want to update from the front end as well. So when I'm typing over here, it's not updating. Something went wrong. Actually, one second. Ng model, username, correct? No. So ng model, username. Okay. So when I'm typing it, no, then some problem is there. No. One second. I'll just inspect. Console. Yeah, you got an error. What is error is? If ng model is used within a form tag, either name attribute must be set to the form. Acha, okay. So we got error because it's telling that if you are
Oh,
using ng model in the form tag, either the name attribute must be set. So name attribute must important. Example also they given in the error. See, model you are using like that, so you have to set the name attribute. Okay, so that we forgot. Let's give the name attribute. Some unique name should be there. I'll give the name attribute. Name is username. Okay, fine.
yes.
Yeah. Now if you give the name attribute, then no error. I think if you go and check the inspect and console, yeah, no error. Even if I'm typing over here, yeah, it's working now. That's correct. I forgot this. Yeah, you have to give the name attribute. So whenever you write a form elements, you must give name. So now see what happened when I'm typing over here. It is updating here. It means what? This data is coming from the backend. It's coming from the model. So whenever you're updating in the client templates, this is sending back to here. It is right. It is coupled with this username and that username I'm display back here. Okay, so that's how it works. Two-way data
Sir,
binding works. Huh?
The,
sir, yeah, actually, what was happening? Actually, I did not see the username, like two-way binding was we were having some issue, right? How did you fix it?
You have to give the name attribute. I forgot to give the name
Oh, name
attribute.
attribute.
and
Okay.
we are not using that username like name attribute in the to display the data. Then how?
No, no, no,
What is
not
the?
not this username. It is just for name. You can take anything. You just take a user. It doesn't matter. The
Yeah,
matter
but
is this one. This is from the components.
hmm, then what is the need of giving that name attribute there in the
No,
input
no,
field?
they have configured. Say, I tell you, if I delete this, if I don't give the name, because Angular itself is configured in that way. If I don't write a name, you get the two-way data binding is not happening. So they got error. See, error is see error if ng model is used within the form tag, either the name attribute must be set or the form control must be defined as standalone. So this is itself is given from Angular itself. Whenever you want to perform a two-way data binding with ng model directive, you
So we
must
need,
have to add a name attribute.
okay.
So name can be any, like user one,
Yeah, it
but
can
it
be
should.
any.
Yeah,
It can be
it
any.
can be anything
Okay.
Name can be anything, but it doesn't matter. This name and this name should match. Actually, this data is coming
okay.
from your
From the,
TS file
yes.
here. So I'll update. So now thing is, see, I'll show you both the ways. Just I give a name attribute, right? Just keep it as a. Now in the backend, here it is null now. So I'll
Hmm.
update this. Now both are in sync now. When you do the ng model
Yeah.
to username, this username and this username is both in sync. So now when I update in the backend manually, I update to my name. I'll just make it something called good morning. If I update just in the backend, it also updates in the front end here as well as its value because both are in the sync. So if you update something, anything else in the backend, it automatically updates in the front end. That's one way. I'll just keep it as a null as of now. So what happened? Everything is empty and null. Now, if I type from the front end, it it also update in the backend. This is coming from the backend variable. No? This username I'll display over here. This one. So both the ways. When you delete, deletes like that. Okay, so this called two-way binding using a ng model. And make sure when you want to use ng model, you must give the name attribute. And before that, you must configure the forms module in a main app module, a root module. You have to configure the forms module because that concept is coming from the forms module. Okay, and fine. That's one thing. And let's change one more example. Change password. I want to update the password when you check the checkbox. So let's do that example. So
Sir,
I
I
don't.
have a doubt.
Yeah.
For event binding, we are using like we are sending data only when we are clicking any event.
Hmm.
But in case if I want to get any like the text name, the input field value
Hmm.
from HTML to my TS file, how
Hmm.
can we get that value from my HTML to TS file?
This is what, right? See, if you want to
Okay.
perform one way means either click event, just event,
Yeah.
correct? See,
Yeah.
as we discuss here,
Yeah.
event means some template to the class.
Class.
So one way you want to do only from the template back to the class, you can use any event, like a
Good.
click event or
Yes.
focus event, whatever.
Yeah, we
Next,
can do
this bracket is from the template to the
from the
class.
template to the
Yeah. So what we
HTML.
have done is both template is, I mean, this what do you call this property binding also there, event binding
And
also there. If you mix both the things with ng model directive, then automatic this thing is going to happen between the
okay, we
your
can get the same
template.
data and we can send the data.
Yeah. Okay, next example, change password. So for this, I want to create a new, what do you call, new components. So I'll just disconnect this username. I don't need this now. You can enable this and check. Okay, I'll just disable. Then now it is plain empty. Yeah, I'll create a uh, new component. So I'll just select this, right click, open in terminal. Yep. So here nggc change minus password, enter. Yeah, it's created a HTML, CS, and TS file. So what I do is I will connect that file,
Okay.
the stack. Yeah, I'll do one thing. I have components. I'll add a comment. change password. So let's add app change password. Okay. So in the change password, I'll do something in a HTML. I don't need this. This password works. I'll make some setup. Same setup as that one. Okay, let's add a basic. You can actually do normal HTML. Don't use, but you have to use bootstrap means too many things you have to write. Container, row, column. What do you do? Okay, one
Input set.
card, card body. Okay, let me give some margin top 5. Yeah, card has come. Yeah. So inside I'll take what any rows or columns. Yeah, directly I'll write. I'll just take a form. In that I'll take a division with the class called form group. Inside I'll take input. So type is equal to password and type equal to password and what else? Class form control. So form control and then name must important. So name I'll take it as pass this because I don't want to keep a same name to identify. So name is done and any placeholder you want password. Okay. So I have a password and beside I want one checkbox. So I'll take checkbox how we do input with the class called form check form check. Inside you have a input is equal to checkbox and with the class called form check input. I have a checkbox somewhere here. What else you do is this fine. You want to add a label. Let's say something called label. Let me give the class called form check label and let's say show password. Show password. Okay, let's keep it as it is here. I just want to do something called form inline better. So display at least side by side. Yeah, some gap should be there. I'll give margin right 3. Yeah, fine. So now it's basic setup. Yeah. So whenever I'm typing something, it's a password. So when I check the checkbox, I want to update that back to the text box. One small change. I'll say custom checkbox. No, no. Actually, there's a class called custom checkbox. Okay, leave it. Our plan is not that one. Leave it. Okay. The plan is here. I have a password. Whatever I'm typing is not visible. Now, when I check the checkbox, I want to update this to password. And when I uncheck this back to, sorry, when I check this, I want to display the text. When I uncheck, I want to hide the text. Okay. So how this possible? It is an event. What is the event unit check is input event, not input event. It's a change event. So when I change the checkbox, I want to update the type password to the something else. So let's add an event on this checkbox. So what I do is the checkbox, I'll take change events. When the change happens, I call a method. So that method is my TS file. So let's say um, public, what do you say, something called show password, one method. Yeah, it's the string type is void. Fine. So here I want to update something. Let's make a basic alert and then we'll check it. Alerts, check the checkbox. So let me call this method here show password. So when the change event happens, it's gonna call a function. So let's do that now. Refresh once. When I check this, I got alert. Yes. When I uncheck again, I got the alert. Fine. Now what to do is I want to update the password. So how you update the password is you have to update this. This is what attribute. So you want to update this HTML attributes like image SRC we have update no. So we're gonna use the property binding to update this data. So what I do is I'll take one variable public some let's take what type. Okay, let's take like this input type some variable name input type of string is equal to I'll take a password. Okay, so I have taken input type string is I input type is password. So thus I want to bind to this password so that I can handle from here. So this input type I want to substitute here. So I'll just take it as dynamic. So let's take property binding type change it to input type. Okay, so what happened? So this type is gonna come from input type dynamically from password here. So it is now check it is password. Now I change the backend data to the username. Not username is a text. If I change to text, automatically what happen? Refresh. If I change to text, it will become C text box. When I change this to data, so what happens here is going to be the date selection. So we can able to handle this input field from the backend. That's how we have done the property binding. Fine. So now my plan is it should be a password first of all. Yeah. Now my plan is when I check, don't do this manually. When I check the checkbox, then you have to update this back to text. So I will do that logic over here. So what to do? You have to get this input here. So this dot input type is equal to password. If the input type is equal to password question mark, then this dot input type is equal to I can change to text or else this dot input type is equal to password. That's it. I think it's done. Okay, let's check. So if it is password, change to text, otherwise change back to password. Okay, now check. It was password only, so it update the password only. Now when I check this, convert to text, when I uncheck, yes, that's it. Okay, so that's how you can perform it. So very simple it is. But you should get the idea. So how to update this one, because you have to think about in an angular way, because in normal JavaScript, how we do is we get the ID, set the ID and all. See, here there is no concept called get element by ID and all. It is automatically tied to this one using these concepts. In normally JavaScript and HTML, we have a DOM manipulation concept. Here we have this concept to bind data between the client and I mean this template and the model. Okay, so that's one thing. And do one thing. One last example is missing. Actually, I have done this example on my. I think I shared in the group. That is stopwatch. This one I have also hosted in online. This one using Angular only, same events Angular. Yeah, here when I click on start, so it start the stopwatch. It is same Angular events only, but slight complex one. We discuss this today. We are not don't have time to discuss. We'll discuss at least tomorrow. So when I stop it, it stops. Start again and stops like that. And click on reset is zero. I show you. So stop, start, stop, reset, like that. So this I have deployed, and I tell you tomorrow how to do this example and how to deploy it to the online also. Okay. So that's one thing, and then we'll finish events, and then we'll move on to the next concept like HTML, the Angular directives like ng if, ng for, ng switch. Those are very important things. So those concepts we're going to discuss in the next class. Okay. So any
Uh,
question?
can you send that like this video's link?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, because I think we haven't received since few days, right? This link, whatever we studied, at least I haven't received in
Which
email.
one? This link? Huh?
Yeah, like
No,
today recorded session. I mean,
Recorded.
the,
Record I shared. I think yesterday I shared in the night. It seems. Yeah, yeah. I'll do that. I'll
so
share
can
all
you,
the till today what is there.
okay.
okay, okay, sir.
Okay,
So
fine. Yeah,
okay. Can
yeah.
you
Thank
share
you.
me that TypeScript videos also?
Yeah, yeah. I'll send from TypeScript. I'll send till today.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.